Hello and welcome to Take Me Through Your Day. On this episode, we have an IT network systems manager that works for a non-profit healthcare company dealing with mental health and opiate addiction. It's a shorter episode because I think we're dealing with a lunch break type situation. And it's good, and there's a lot of good stuff in there, but I really feel like we should do a follow-up on this one, so tune in later and we'll get to that. But in the meantime, if you would like to be on the show, or you know someone who would like to be on the show, you can reach us at TakeMeTYD on all social media and TakeMeTYD@gmail.com. Enjoy the show.
So my current job title is IT Network Systems Manager.
For what kind of company?
So I work for a private, non-profit healthcare company that deals with mental health and opioid addiction. We have 13 locations across, including two what's called methadone clinics. And what those are for is that's for court orders for Suboxone or methadone dispensaries. So it's fairly large, fairly robust, and I'm part of just a team of two people, me and one other guy, so it can be pretty crazy.
Running the whole IT team for 13 locations?
Yes.
So have you done a job like this before?
So I've been in this type of position before, which was at a vocational school district, also local to Southeast Ohio. And it wasn't quite as robust, but I was responsible for four buildings at the vocational high school level, and then one building at the adult level. So I have a little bit of background in managing something this large as just one person or a small team.
So you've actually been in this field before, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll just get into your current job. What time do you wake up?
So I wake up every day at 5:30, but I get out of bed at 5:45.
So, do you use an alarm?
I do, yes.
And are you hitting that snooze button a bunch of times? You just lay there,
So
15 minutes is going to pass?
So my wife doesn't have to be up till like 6:30 usually, so I can only hit that snooze button one time, or else she's like getting really mad at me. So
what's the first thing when you get out of bed? What's your first plan of action? Just run me through your morning real quick before you even get to work.
So as soon as I get out of bed, it being 5:45, I'm already rushing because I got to be at work at 7, and I have about a 45-minute drive.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
So as soon as I'm out of bed, I'm wandering in the dark into the bathroom to hop in the shower. Hop out of the shower, and then I've got to pack my lunch, let the dog out, and start the car if it's winter time, all in the span of like 25-30 minutes. So I'm like sprinting. Most of the time I at least make sure that I set my clothes out the night before.
Okay, so you sort of plan, sort of not plan.
Yeah, it depends on like if I was in the mood the night before to be planned.
Or organized chaos.
Yes.
All right, so you say you have a relatively long commute to work, I guess, like 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
All right, what are you listening to on the way to work?
So on the morning, like if I'm headed to work, it's usually a podcast. One of them being this one, which is TakeMeTYD. So
shout out,
just a little plug there. The other one is one called Shack the Movies. It's pretty neat. And then there's a third one that I sometimes listen to, which is Neebs Gaming. And then if I'm not listening to a podcast, I'm listening to some type of just music that's not too heavy, not too crazy that early.
So you don't use music to get you pumped up in the morning?
No, there's not enough music to get me pumped up for what I walk into every day. So,
So you started this job fairly recently. You've been here for what, 2 months?
Yeah, it's a month and a half actually. So,
so this is still fairly new, but you've been in the field before, so you kind of know what you should be expecting, even though that might not be what you're actually.
Yeah. So when I walked in on the first day, I started asking for documentation, continuing processes, things of that nature, procedures, and none of that was documented. So I started asking around, like, hey, where do I get this information? What do I do here? And they were like, you're going to have to talk to the guy that left. Here's his number.
Oh,
You can call him. He might answer. We don't know. So thankfully, he's actually a really cool guy, and he's willing to help. But yeah, there's no documentation in place, so every day I'm flying by the seat of my pants just trying to figure out what I actually need to do on a daily basis. So it's pretty crazy.
So was it ever like that at previous jobs? Was everything a little more structured at the other jobs, or were you kind of just setting it up at the other jobs?
So previously at the college that I worked at, everything was in place. Obviously, you're talking about a very large structure, though. But the 2 places before that, no. I mean, I walked into the school district that I worked at before that, and there was nothing in place. And I actually did a complete restructure their entire network. So it's not new to me to not have documentation, but it is new to me to have the amount of regulations that we have to comply to government-wise with HIPAA and things of that nature. And to be flying by the seat of your pants is very dangerous in that situation.
All right, so we'll take a quick step back. You said you worked at a university for a while. What were you doing there? We'll just do a quick rundown of what your title was there and what you were doing there.
So I was an application support analyst there, and I was brought in specifically for a project to transition from one cloud-based storage solution to another. So we moved from Box to OneDrive, and I was brought in for the added workload there. And really it was just training users, helping migrate data over if they didn't know how to do it or if they hadn't already done it, as well as training and teaching. I guess I already said training and teaching, but it was actually training and teaching myself quite a bit, because they asked me if I had any OneDrive experience or Office 365, and I maybe stretched the truth just a little bit to get in there, but I had to take the chance, and it ended up working out.
We got to do that sometimes, yeah. Especially in IT, I feel like it's... Because I've worked in IT for a few years now,
and that's what's crazy is, with IT, they want so much experience before you even get started that sometimes you do kind of have to be like, okay, I know enough about this to at least put it on my resume, so I'm going to go ahead and put it there. And then you hope that's enough to get you in the door to where you can really learn it, because most people who are in IT are good problem solvers anyway, and are typically pretty good critical thinkers, so it's not too rough.
I've run into that a lot, especially myself being in IT. Like it's just a lot of problem solving. You just gotta figure it out.
Oh yeah.
Everyone thinks we like know all this stuff, but really we're just Googling everything.
That's all it is. We know how to Google better than you do. Than the regular end user, we know how to Google better than them, and that's what's great about our field. And the reason I'm saying ours because you are in the IT field yourself. So in our field, that's what's great is usually the problem that you're having somebody else has ran into already. So you have that database that's out there that you can just tap into at any time. That's an amazing resource. I can't imagine what an IT department was like back in the 80s or the 90s or whatever it was before Google. I feel bad for those folks.
Yeah, we've talked about it before on the podcast, but you find out that everyone's winging it. Everyone down from just the janitor to the CEO.
Oh, yeah.
The CIO, everybody's just winging it.
Well, you can't know everything about a position before you start it, so yeah, you are winging it. And it was always funny because when you're a kid, you're like, man, I can't wait to be an adult because then I'll know everything, I'll know how to do everything. Well, then you become an adult and you realize, okay, yeah, my mom and dad were just winging it, and here I am.
Oh, you mean my parents were winging it too? Oh, okay. I thought they knew everything. Yeah, we've all been there. All right, so just a quick run through your day there when you were at the university. Was it you were a lot of talking on the phone, you had meetings and teaching people in person?
Yeah, so we were technically tier 2 support, but it was more like tier 1.5 because we were so like compartmentalized there. So usually it was if our student workers couldn't get it done, they were sending the call over to us. They had a 10 to 15 minute threshold with every user. If they couldn't get it solved in 15 minutes, it came to us to do advanced troubleshooting. So I was on the phone a little bit. Thankfully, during the summer, I was mostly on foot out and about campus, actually setting up one-on-one with professors and other faculty and staff. So It was an interesting experience. I mean, it really was, and it was something that definitely helped me grow as a IT professional, if you want to say. And I did use air quotes when I just said that. So.
We're all professionals here, quotes, quote unquote. All right, so we'll jump back in because I know we don't have a lot of time. So we'll jump back into your current job. So you get into work, what, 7 o'clock? You said you're there?
Yeah, I'm usually rolling in. Despite how quickly I'm moving, I typically can get there, like right at 7 or just a few minutes after, or sometimes I even get there a little bit before 7 if I'm lucky enough to leave the house quick enough.
Yeah,
so
no one's micromanaging you there. You're kind of
no. As a matter of fact, I really have no management at all. I'm kind of sat down every day, and what I want to tackle is what I want to tackle. And right now there is a lot to take on and a lot of changes that I'm going to be bringing forth. So it's pretty interesting. Every day is interesting. So.
Are you running on coffee most of the time?
I'm running on nothing. So they do have a coffee maker, and at 7 o'clock in the morning, I do not want to mess with coffee grounds or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I'm usually walking right in and just sitting down, and I may have, a bottle of, I think here lately it's been Sprite Zero, but before that it was some kind of diet pop, which is awful. We all know that, but
yeah.
It is what it is. So usually I'm running on nothing, and I'm just kind of just feeling my way through the morning,
I just completely skipped over breakfast. Did you do anything for breakfast? Or you
No, that's the big thing. I don't eat, and I don't recommend that. Make sure if you have time to eat. Sometimes I will not eat until lunchtime, which even if I was to bring in a breakfast, I'm usually way too busy by the time I walk in to even think about grabbing a bite to eat, especially with my new position.
All right, so you get into work. What's the first thing you do? You sit down at your desk, and then what?
First thing I do is I open up Chrome, and then I'm immediately looking at email, looking at tickets, because we do have home health care, which is 24 hours, so we may get tickets at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning for issues. So that's the first two things I'm looking at. Then I'm pulling up our virtual environment, and I'm going through each individual virtual machine and looking at logs, making sure nothing critical, no failures, anything like that, which more often than not there is, but we can dive into that later. And then after that I'm checking out ESPN, kind of making sure I'm awake before I'm dealing with too much. Check out the latest sporting news, and then we're right back to work. So usually by about 7:30 I'm dug into my desk, done with the waking up and getting into the scheme of things. I'm now making calls and setting up meetings for vendors and things of that nature, because I'm taking it all on. So
you're pretty much a catch-all. You got to set up your user support, your server support, network.
Yes,
phones included in that?
Phones are included, and that's funny that you brought that up, because we are actually our current phone system took a complete dump on us, so we lost all of our user data all the way back to 2017. And the thing about a private nonprofit, especially in the healthcare world, is you don't realize how much turnover there is until you lose something like that. So going all the way back to 2017, almost every user that was in place there was gone. So besides a select few. And so they were all complaining, the extension on my phone is wrong, the name on my phone is wrong.
Everything's wrong.
Yeah, all my voicemails are gone. All of our auto attendants were gone. So when we even had outside patients calling in, they just got this line is not currently in use, please dial the extension if you know it. So we were at a severe loss of business.
I don't think that's not good for anybody on either end of that deal.
No, so I had nurses and the CEO like, hey, you got to get this back up because we're losing money. And I'm like, I'm trying, but then once again it rolls back around to no documentation. So now I've got to find out who we even need to call if our phones go down.
Yeah, if you don't even know that, that's.
So I called. I finally found that out, and after about 2 to 3 hours, I was finally on the right track of even just getting started into fixing this issue.
Wow.
So that led to about a 2.5 week span, which I'm currently in, trying to get all of this back to how it was with auto attendance. Many Saturdays have been burnt now.
Oh, geez.
Trying to get all this done. So
Salary positions.
yes, yeah. So thankfully, they actually are paying me overtime for all of this. But that was one big thing. Was I asked them before I took the job, is there extended hours or weekends? And they said yes. I said, then I either want overtime or I want to be hourly rate, so I can have overtime. And so thankfully, no money lost, but it's still no fun coming in on a Saturday for 9 hours trying to work on the phone.
Yeah, especially with, it seems like such a daunting task.
Yeah, and with 13 locations, I'm actually driving to a lot of those locations to check the phone switches because those have been upgraded since 2017. So the config files from 2017 might be showing we'll go ahead and call it a SG30 switch when really we're on an SG90 in that location now, or an SG50 location at that location. So if it's got a config file for an SG30 but you're on an SG50 switch, it's not working, it's not connected.
Yeah.
So that's going down and actually looking at the MAC address and then calling the company and being like, hey, this is the MAC address for this switch, can you put it online? And then doing all that. And not only that, but we had to pay this company the whole time because I didn't have any config files. So I couldn't even configure my own switches to fix all this.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it's been a hot mess.
Yeah, I was going to ask, we can touch on this real quick. So there's 13 different locations. How often are you running around to these locations?
So it was supposed to be not very often, and it's turned into, I would say, 2 to 3 times a week I'm driving round trip, probably 80 miles.
Wow.
To get everything figured out.
And that would be the case, you think, even if you weren't fixing the phones right now? Or is it just because of that?
Right now I think it's just because of the phones, but we are yet to go a full week of 100% uptime. So
with just the phones or anything in general?
With everything.
Okay.
And currently right now we have a cascading ransomware issue. So
which is not good in case listeners don't know what that is. It is not good, especially to have deep embedded into your server, which I'm assuming that's where it's at.
Yes, it's at the server level. It's in our virtual environment. It's just bad.
Yeah,
so
it's just bad.
I'm in a big storm of crap, for lack of a better word.
All right, so we'll jump back into your day. So you're kind of finishing up on your computer on 7:30, making all these calls. What kind of calls are you making?
So I am, with us being such a small IT department, I'm actually calling consulting services, and mostly because it gives me an extra brain to pick. So thankfully, I have a fine gentleman from a company in that's been very willing to help me. Excuse me.
For money.
Yeah, for money. That's what I was choking on. So he was in place prior to me there, consulting for our company, and we come to find out that he was charging like $244 per hour.
Wow.
For consulting services. So I called him and I said, hey man, we got to do something about this. And he goes, well, you're not in an exclusive partnership, so I can't knock down money. So I'm immediately calling other people, and that's what I'm doing now. And I have a good friend of mine from where I live, my hometown, that is a director of another nonprofit, and he does consulting services. So I kind of played a little bit of the money game and said, hey, I can just move to this guy for $55 an hour.
Oh, wow.
If you don't want to, play ball here. So thankfully, I have him down to a comfortable $100 per hour, which is pretty standard.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
And now most of the time I'm on the phone with him saying, what services can we improve upon? Where can we save money? And so every morning it's the game of how much money can we save without cutting too many corners. Because with nonprofits, a lot of the time you'll see a lot of corners cut.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't do that, especially in the healthcare world with all the regulations that are in place.
Yeah, in the IT world of that too, especially you can't be cutting corners.
Yeah. So it's a dangerous game you got to play. So we're replacing our phone system, and I actually brought about $90,000 worth of cost savings to them in my first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So, they're pretty happy, but I'm not, because it's just a crap ton of work.
Yeah, it seems like it. I don't know if they're compensating well enough for that.
since there's no names or anything, I'm going to say by the workload and the job description and the job title, no, it's not competitive at all.
Something I was going to touch on. I can't remember what it was. I'm just scatterbrained right now.
That's all right. I mean, we are sitting in the middle of the Asian food restaurant trying to get this done, so it's okay.
So what I was going to touch on, I remember what it was. So I don't know about you, when I went into the IT field to begin with, I didn't realize how much consulting there was.
Oh, there's tons.
Because my first IT job actually was at a nonprofit too, and I mean they were trying to save money. They didn't even have an IT department, and then they hired me right out of college, community college, with an associate's degree to run their shit. I mean they're paying me $12 an hour, which is great for an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, and I mean, if we didn't have a consulting agency for me to call to get some assistance, like that place would have burned down.
Yeah, so consulting, especially for nonprofits and anybody who's maybe running a nonprofit or starting a nonprofit, consulting services, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Just make sure that they're not trying to stick you, because they're a lot cheaper even than hiring in-house IT. And if you have a current in-house IT department, it's very good to have a consulting service still in place because it does give them somebody else to talk to.
Yeah.
Somebody else to help solve problems with. So the way I currently have it is going back to the guy that was $55 an hour, and the guy that's was charging us $244 is now charging $100. We're going into a multi-consultant. How would you say that? A multi-consultant deal. So I can consult with either one of them. One of them decided to have a set number of days, which is perfect because I can bring him in for my monthly meetings. And he can help me check with, any type of issues I have, and I know that I have him for at least a day a month. The other guy is anytime 24/7, so I've got that, dual setup to where I can contact anybody almost any time, and I can have the best minds that we can afford working for our department without paying benefits and without paying a hefty salary. So.
Yeah, that's one thing to consider with the consulting is you get all that knowledge, not just for like one particular, networking or phones. Like the companies have a catch-all for all of that.
Exactly.
So, jumping back to your day, you said there's somebody else with you, working with you.
Yeah.
In your team.
Yeah, there's one other guy. Super great guy. He's got a developer background, so he's very good with our SQL servers and stuff like that. That's actually why he was brought in, was to start helping run reports.
And that's for databases, right?
Yes, correct. That's all database work. And thankfully he is willing to help troubleshoot and go to end users. And just to kind of give you a frame of reference of how large we were, before I started, and actually before he started, and as he first came in probably 2 years ago, they were a 5-person department. And then they dropped to 4, and then 3, and now 2, but then continued to grow.
Yeah.
So when they were a 5-person department, then we had 7 locations. And now with a 2-person department, we're at 13 locations.
That's exponential. That's noticeable.
Yes.
So are you both kind of run into the end user on like small things at all, or do you mostly send him off to do that if he can?
Him more than me. So I will make this clear: he is not he does not report to me. We're at the same level.
Yeah.
It's just he's on a different pay grade. So, and what that different pay grade means that he doesn't have all the responsibilities I do, but he does not have to report to me.
Yeah.
There is no thing there. We're just in the same department, and we have the same goal in mind, which is to be not such an embarrassment as an IT department.
but you're working on that, right?
Yes.
Working on
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
All right. So I assume that takes up most of your day. What time do you take a lunch usually?
Whenever I can, and we can keep going. I think we'll be fine. Nobody's
We got about 20 minutes. We'll wrap it up. But so what do you do for lunch? Are you typically trying to get out of the office for an hour if you can?
So currently, yes, I am trying to get out of the office just because I'm so burnt out by the time 12:30, 1 o'clock rolls around. That I'm trying any way I can to get out of the building. And unfortunately, I typically only have a half hour, which is nice because I have an 8-hour day with a half-hour paid lunch, so it's really only a 7.5-hour day.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
But that never happens. I'm typically in the office till 3:30, 4:30, especially here as I've started. But yeah, usually I'm headed out. There's a Dairy Queen like 5 minutes away from my office, so the old DQ is getting hit up quite a bit. So, and I think I have a previous DQ employee in front of me, maybe.
Yeah, I do, maybe.
So
I might have worked there for a year or so and eaten all their ice cream.
So yeah, and I'm eating all their ice cream now. So because I don't smoke and I don't drink, so ice cream is my stress relief.
All right, so I was going to ask you when you typically wrap up your day, but you're supposed to wrap it up at what, 3:30?
Yeah, I'm supposed to wrap it up at 3:30. Typically, I'm calling my wife about 3:45 and telling her I'll be home
Maybe
sometime. Which thankfully she's a nurse, so she gets it, which is very nice. Always have somebody that supports you. That's a big thing too. So she supports what I do, and thankfully she's usually cool with the fact that I'm not leaving at 3.
That's just how it happens sometimes.
And I'm hoping with the aggressive time frame that I have up in the next 6 months or so, when 3 o'clock rolls around, I'll be walking out at 3. So
that's the goal here.
Yeah,
to get out of work on time. All right, so you're wrapping up your day. Is there anything you do at work to wrap up your day, or is it just kind of like once I blow out this fire or get this fire out, then I'm just out of here?
Once the fires are put out for the day, I hit the lock key on my computer and I'm headed home. So it's pretty fast. It's a pretty quick exit.
All right, so you got the same commute back, 45 minutes. What are you listening to there? Same thing?
So on the way back, usually it's the same thing, but sometimes, depending on how the day was, I'm probably listening to something more upbeat, kind of get me ready to go home and make sure that I'm not taking my work home with me, because that's an awful, awful habit to get into. And I think a lot of people do that. Excuse me, talking too much. That's a really bad habit to get into. So I try not to do that. More upbeat, some rock, maybe some, funny rap, some Lil Dicky.
Drop some names, yeah. Lil Dicky.
Some Lil Dicky, anything like that. What else do I listen to? Some Easy, some, just stuff that really a white boy, probably really doesn't listen to. But
to get into a better mood,
yeah.
I got you. All right, so are you doing anything at the end of the day to wind down once you get home?
Yeah, so I'm big into Netflix, as I think almost every millennial is.
Yeah.
So
I don't like to lump us in that category, but go ahead.
I am, watching Netflix or cooking dinner. I like to cook, so I come home and I usually make dinner. If not, the wife and I are trying to go out and just get away from our day because she works a very stressful job herself.
Yeah.
So we're both looking for any way to just kind of to wind down, whether that be I make dinner and we sit down together and just talk about our crappy days usually, or I'm playing Xbox. If all else fails, the wife has to work late, I'm going back to my straight up single days and hopping on the Xbox and playing some video games. So.
And you doing that up to bed? Do you have any?
Yeah, so usually, yeah. Every now and then I will hit the treadmill, or I will do, for a while I was doing some auxiliary policing. So that was a good stress relief, go out, ride in a cruiser for a few hours and shoot the crap with some pretty cool cops. So, really, most of the time I would say I'm just chilling on the couch and maybe go up and play cards with the in-laws. That's about it.
And that actually reminded me when you were talking about doing the police as is it volunteer?
Yeah, so it's a 100% volunteer basis. We're paid $1 a year, but that dollar gets donated back. So it's for free, and it's just a community type thing. So
yeah.
We do have certain roles that we do, some traffic, and we work some local festivals as just extra numbers. Because obviously we're not allowed to carry, we're not allowed to really do much, but we can do enough from the community sense, which is really nice. And I feel it's a way to give back, which led me into volunteer firefighting, which was a certified volunteer firefighter for 2 years, and that was directly from doing the auxiliary stuff with the police and realizing that there was more I could do within my community to help out.
So we're just going to run through some fun questions. Like you said, you listened to the podcast before, so you kind of know what's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we workshop some new ones, so we'll see what we got here for you. If you can have any breakfast to start your day.
No, any breakfast to start my day. This is going to sound really, really bad, but I'm straight up hitting the sausage, gravy, and biscuit from McDonald's.
Or McDonald's.
Yeah, with an
Hey.
orange juice.
Hey, that works.
Now, if my mom lived in my house, it would be her sausage, gravy, and biscuits. But for me, it's going to be from McDonald's if I'm by myself, but I can have anything I want that day or whenever. It's going to be sausage, gravy, and biscuit from McDonald's with a large orange juice and a hash brown, man. Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong with that. All right, most viewed movie, not your favorite movie. What movie have you seen the most?
So, my most viewed movie, this is embarrassing, would be Space Jam, of all things.
That's not embarrassing at all.
We had a movie rental place in the small town that I grew up in, and we went up there and they had it, and I rented it, and I actually watched it for literally probably 4 days straight. So it's going to be hard for anything to beat that.
Yeah.
Close second would be Ferris Bueller's Day Off, though.
Oh man, good one. Both good ones. All right, what's your favorite candy? Any candy in the world?
Hot tamales, straight up.
tamales?
If you bring up a hot box of hot tamales, I will do whatever you say until that box of hot tamales is gone. Favorite candy?
What kind of soap do you use?
Soap. So, my wife makes me buy generic, but for Christmas I typically do get some kind of, cleaning kit. So I don't know if that's a sign or what, but usually it is some kind of Waterfall fresh gel soap that my wife gets me,
Something
or
fancy.
gets us, or it is some Just for Men Suave, whatever. Fresh and clean, I guess, is the scent or smell, whatever.
So I should have actually brought this up during the work day, though. But do you have any pet peeves about the job? General pet peeves about the job? Because I know you can go into it. I know you can. But just give one, one that really pops out.
Documentation.
That there's no documentation.
That there is no documentation. Guys, if you work in IT, or gals, or whatever you prefer to be called, document. Because when the next guy comes in, if there's no documentation in place, they will curse you every day.
They will curse you. All right, and then any general pet peeves in general in your life?
Yeah, when people think that just because they talk louder, they're winning an argument. That's a huge pet peeve of mine.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, so.
Tipping custom.
Tipping custom?
Yeah, when you go out to a restaurant, you have to tip someone.
Oh, gosh. All right, so.
We don't judge here on TakeMeTYD.
I am the notorious $5 tipper. It doesn't matter if my meal was $5 or if it was $10 or $15. I'm tipping you probably $5.
You have a $50 meal, $5?
$50 meal, I'm tipping you $5.
All right, yeah, that works. My favorite vegetable.
Favorite vegetable? I would have to probably go with broccoli, believe it or not. So
Yeah, it's my favorite one too. Spicy, not spicy.
used to be not spicy, but as I'm getting older, I think my taste buds are changing, and I actually prefer spicy a little more over non-spicy.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say you're at right now?
For what?
for the spicy factor.
Oh, I would say probably I'm weak. I'd say probably a 5 or 6.
I'm pretty weak too. I like it, but sometimes the other half of me doesn't
I
like it.
still like to enjoy my food if it's spicy. If I can't enjoy it, it's not for me.
All right, so best advice you ever got. Don't overthink it. What's the best advice you got? It could be the most recent advice you got too.
Best advice I ever got was probably from my dad, and that was don't overthink what you got to do.
Oh.
Most things in life are straightforward. If you spend too much time thinking about it, you're going to get lost. So just go with what you feel and just go with it. That was probably the best thing I ever got, advice-wise. And then the second would be Andy, and that stands for admit nothing, deny everything. So.
I like that. I've never heard that one in my life. I love it, though. Look out for those T-shirts coming at you. What's your biggest fear?
I'm never been put in a situation to find out what my biggest fear is. Which growing up, like everybody, was probably the dark or underneath my bed.
Yeah.
But I would say now as an adult, my biggest fear is just not experiencing new things. So I don't like to be in a routine, and that's my biggest fear, is to turn into a routine and then be 55 years old and realize, crap, I did the same thing every day for the past 35 years. And, life's over at that point. I mean, 50's young, and I should probably say older because you can't even retire at 50, but, whenever I get lucky enough to retire, I don't want it to be, I have the same routine every day. I want to go experience new things.
Mm-hmm. That's a good outlook on life, and we never heard it like that, to be honest. We've heard the general idea of it, but not like that. What's the last pic you took on your phone? You don't have to show us, or...
Last pic I took on my phone?
Yep. You picked up your phone right now, open up the gallery. What's the last picture you took?
I'm actually going to do that because I got to know. I don't take a lot of pictures. It's unfortunate because I have an iPhone X and it's supposed to have this great camera, but I don't take a lot of pictures. Last picture I took would be apparently my screen, and it was my wife and I at my brother-in-law's wedding.
So screen. Hey, that works. That works. All right, what type of music do you listen to and why? I know we kind of dabbled on it, but what's your go-to, no matter what, I can listen to this, and why?
So that would be country, and the guy that I can listen to all the time would be Eric Church. I have no clue why. No clue. I got one of his albums when I was in high school, and ever since, I just listen to him all the time. Whenever I don't know what I want to listen to, I can turn on any of his albums, and I can just listen to the whole thing, and I can keep him on all day. It's pretty weird. So,
one of my confessions, I'm not a big country guy. I really don't like country music, but Eric Church has one of my favorite songs. I can't remember the name of it now, but I'm surprised you said someone's name in country, and I actually recognized the name. I don't know if I'm disappointed with myself.
You shouldn't be.
And why? So why is that? Is it just because it kind of brings you back, or it's just?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my summers, I was an athlete, so a lot of my summers were spent at football fields or out with friends at night, and just we'd always have his music on. Like I said, I bought one of his albums in high school, and that was what was always in my truck when we were driving around town or whatnot. So, it just takes me back to, unfortunately, you don't realize it takes you back to the best times of your life. You know, or the least stressful time of your life, I should say.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. All right, what's the hardest time you ever laughed? You could throw a story in there if you want.
Okay, so hardest time I ever laughed was me and my best friend. There was this video on YouTube that was a voiceover of an X-Men's episode that had to do with the Juggernaut. And every time the Juggernaut would come on the screen, he would go, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch." And I literally was on the ground laughing and rolling because it was just caught me as so funny, just being a 13-year-old kid that, apparently thought something like that was funny, but that's the hardest I've ever laughed, for sure.
YouTube was a big part of my childhood as well, making me laugh. All right, so what would you do with $1,000 right now?
$1,000 right now? I would pay off a couple bills. Actually, I'd pay off my credit card because there's almost exactly $1,000 on it right now, so that would be perfect.
All right, what about your 18-year-old self? You give him $1,000. What the hell would he do with it?
Oh, probably putting some kind of stupid modification on my pickup truck. So I had a really crappy GMC Sonoma that I thought was cool with its body lift and big tires. I probably would have put some stupid exhaust on it, or some stupid touchscreen radio. I don't know. I'd spend it on something stupid, that's for sure.
All right, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Hopefully not in the same position I am right now. In 10 years, I definitely want to be a dad. I want to continue to be a coach. I coach baseball. That's why I said that. I want to continue to be that. Hopefully in 10 years, I'm coaching some kind of sport, hopefully baseball, and raising a couple kids, really.
All right, what's something you wish you learned earlier?
Don't take anything for granted. I learned that a rather difficult way, rather disappointing way was I took a certain person for granted at a young age, and that just wasn't it. Put all my eggs in that basket, and it didn't happen. So, yeah, I wish I would have learned that a lot sooner than what I did.
Hindsight's 2020. If there's one thing you can change about yourself, what would it be? Could be anything small.
Well, the easiest thing to say is my weight. Being skinny and stuff like that in school growing up, and then going to a job where I'm sitting down 9 hours a day. The biggest thing would be weight, but honestly, the biggest thing I changed about myself is to give more people a chance. Sometimes I'm a little too judgy before they even really talk to me. So,
I mean, that's a tough thing to do. It's just in general. All right, just to wrap it up here, if you could do anything, money's not a factor. If you could do any job or anything, what would it be?
Carpentry, 100%.
Any specific type, or just in general?
General carpentry. That is one of my long passions, and I've told my wife many times if I could make money at it, that's what I would do. So, and that's a big thing too. Don't think you have to go to college, because I wouldn't have had to go to college for that.
Well, that's a recurring thing on the podcast. Do not worry about that. All right. Well, so I know we're a little stretched on time here, so we'll wrap it up with that. Thanks for doing the show.
Oh yeah, no problem.
I know we were planning on this for a while. We'll probably do a part 2, I'm sure.
Yeah, that would be great. So I think it was good, and thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks.